Hey, Trent and Jason from the Thunder Underground podcast here. We're going to talk about Mark Morton's brand new solo album, his first solo album, Anesthetic.
Nice. It's a good one, so we're going to write it down for you.
Yeah, this is, at this point of the year, here we are about almost 2.5 months in. I don't say it's my favorite album of the year, but it's definitely in the top 2 or 3, I think.
Oh, for me, I don't know. I feel like there's been a few already that I'm like, oh, this is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
But this is a good one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, with these kind of, one guy did an album and had a bunch of other dudes singing on it. Sometimes I don't know. Sometimes it's a big wet fart.
Right.
But this one is not.
Yeah, that's the first thing I want to point out. If you're not familiar yet with this, which you probably are if you were watching this, but Mark Morton, obviously the guitarist for Lamb of God.
What? Huh? He's in Lamb of God?
I mean, Shadows Fall.
Wow, I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. Look up Shadows Fall, The Art of Balance.
Learn something new every day.
Okay. Anyway, the guitarist in Lamb of God has put out a solo album, and like Jason mentioned, every track has a different vocalist. And that sometimes is not the greatest thing, but many times when you look at someone like Tony Iommi or Slash, it turns out to be fantastic, and this falls right into that category in my opinion. So, as a whole, there's really nothing on this album that isn't good. There's a couple songs that I might over time probably skip, but I don't mean that they're bad, they just don't stand out to me as many as others.
I get that.
But overall, I would definitely say this is a solid #all killer no filler album.
Oh, of course. And I like that it starts off with songs from one guy from Linkin Park and one guy from Papa Roach, because that'll piss off all the metalheads.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, I don't really like those two bands, but if it, makes people scratch their head and, pisses off the trues, I'm all for it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the first thing that jumps out to me on a whole of this album is that when you hear someone's doing a solo album, everybody has different opinions. And my first inclination is, you kind of want it to sound different from what they're known for.
Yeah, I want them to do something different than, just the gunmetal gray, Lamb of God onslaught,
And the thing that jumped out to me was that every track on here is a little bit different, he catered the track to whoever was singing.
Yeah.
And every track had that style of music to whatever the vocalist was known for the most part. And that I thought was cool, but at the same time, that would be the only knock I had on it, because I'm like, it's not really defining what Mark Morton would sound like on his own. It's almost like he's just adapting to who he decided to bring in as a vocalist. I mean, I don't know. What do you think about that?
I get that. I don't know. You got to wonder, maybe they got together and wrote it together or something, I mean, which would totally kind of change your theory there all around. But then again, you probably have a good point, and it probably did go that way. I'm sure it came about all different kinds of ways.
Right. Well, the opening track was the lead single, which was Cross Off, featuring Chester Bennington of Linkin Park. This was, I believe, what they've said now is the last thing that he recorded. I know there's other stuff out there, like we talked to the guys from Julian K, and they still have some Dead by Sunrise stuff with him singing, but this is the last official thing he had recorded.
Yeah.
So this, in my opinion, when I heard this the first time, I don't even know how to explain how happy I was, because my knock on Linkin Park throughout the years was that it just didn't kick ass enough, and I know a lot of people love that band, but and I don't have any problem with hip hop, but Mike Shinoda has always annoyed the shit out of me, and I like Chester Bennington's voice, so this is exactly what I always wished that he had been doing the whole time he was doing music. So at least his final track to me was what, the epitome of what I think he should have been doing his whole life. So, I'm glad that it's here now.
Okay, well,
that's my opinion.
It's a win-win for you, I guess.
Right.
But I know it is a great track. It's catchy as hell. It gets stuck in your head, and you have to listen to it again to get it out of your head.
Yeah.
That's always a good sign.
Yeah. The next track, Sworn Apart, features Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach. And this is another band that divides a lot of, pretty divisive, especially when you're talking to metalheads. And they've even been divisive between us. Like, I liked him early on, then I didn't like him, then I loved him, and now I don't like him again. When I hear songs like Nameless, Faceless, I just want to slam my head into a brick wall because it would take the pain out of my ears and put it in my fucking head. That's how horrible that shit is.
Good thing I've never heard that song.
I promise me, this is like, I don't even know what to compare it to. It's just fucking horrible. But this song, Sworn Apart, it's kind of like what I just said about Chester. It's like this is what Papa Roach should have been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
Which, hey, they can do whatever they want, obviously. What am I to say? But Jacoby Shaddix shines, in my opinion, in a song like this. So.
Well, the next song, Axis, featuring Mark Lanigan, No One Can Shine Brighter. Because the song kicks fucking ass.
That's right. Like, this was the song, I just turned something on, but this was the song that whenever I saw the track listing beforehand, I was looking forward to the most.
Yes. Yeah, well, I know you're a big Screaming Trees guy and Mark Lanigan guy.
Yeah, so just to hear how he sounded with Mark Morton, and again, he kind of adapted to the Mark Lanigan style, but this song's great because it has two totally different vibes in itself.
Yeah, it kind of turns into something different towards the end.
Yeah, it's almost got that dark-rooted kind of, not country, but that close to outlaw country, if outlaw country went dark metal,
Mm-hmm.
Just that kind of vibe, and then it turns into, like you said, more of a rock song. And it wasn't at all what I was really expecting, but it lived up to the hype for what I was hoping it would be.
Yeah, definitely.
Then number 4, The Never, featuring Chuck Billy and Jake Oney. This, another one catering to that style. This sounds like something Testament would do. And Mark Morton could hang with Alex Skolnick, which is saying a lot. So
it's full assault metal.
Yeah, it's straight up thrash assault. And Chuck Billy is, Testament is always active, putting out new music. And, he's done stuff with Metal Allegiance. So this isn't anything, groundbreaking here, but it's a great fucking song.
Yeah.
And then we've got, what's the next one? Save Defiance, featuring Miles Kennedy. And once again...
I've got to think, I don't know. I've got to think that, this is a grand, alter bridge-ish kind of tune. It's an anthem. And, I got to think, I don't know. I know what you I know what you mean, but we don't know. They probably wrote it together. I'm sure that, the melody and the lyrics are Miles.
Yeah. But yeah, like you said, it feels like Alter Bridge, like that, almost the more epic kind of almost progressive stuff.
Dramatic kind of shit.
Yeah, that him and Tremonti do together. Mm-hmm. And this fits in 100% well with Miles Kennedy's catalog, and it's once again a great track. And then we've got Blur featuring Mark Morales of Sons of Texas,
which is kind of different than Sons of Texas.
Kind of.
So that but that voice is undeniable, and it's amazing, by the way.
But it also fits with the stuff Sons of Texas did, like Beneath the Riverbed.
Yeah, and I got that vibe a little bit, but at the same time, it was a little different.
Yeah, it's not what you would expect when you knew that he was going to be on this. You thought it was going to be like a hard rock rip, kind of like Cross Off was, but more geared towards Morales.
This one's just a tad more subdued.
Yeah, but Mark Morales is really good at that kind of deep, brooding, southern, backwoods fucking metal, and that's what this kind of makes me feel whenever I listen to this.
Yeah.
And, it's been announced since the album, or before the album came out, that Mark is going to be the one playing shows with him. Actually, that's later this month, I believe, right?
Yeah.
And they're not doing a whole lot, but hopefully they do more in the future. Hey, maybe this could be a situation like, when Slash released his first album that had Miles on 2 songs, and then he got him to sing a few shows, and then all of a sudden that was his other project. So maybe we'll have Mark and Mark in the future.
He's like a heavy metal Slash.
Yeah. Yeah, we could have Mark Morales and Mark Morton head off into the future together, like we could all dream of, right?
Hey, I still want Sons of Texas around, though.
Oh yeah, but no, I just meant like Alter Bridge of Slash. You just
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
Okay, next up, Back from the Dead, and holy shit, if there was not a song more aptly titled.
I have my opinion about this song, but I'm gonna let you take this one because you are the Buck Cherry guy.
Yeah, that's another band that divides a lot of metal people, but we defend these guys to their core.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last few years, about 2 years, whenever Keith Nelson left, and I saw him live since then, and it lacked any kind of spark or fire. And the music I've heard since then, I haven't even listened to the new album yet, which is a shock for me. And it doesn't excite me, because even the last album or two when Keith Nelson was there was just like they were going through the motions.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a lot of hit and miss stuff. It wasn't like the first 4 albums where it was just solid shit all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And this song is exactly what Josh Todd was fucking built for. This sounds like Buck Cherry at its dirtiest, even more amped up. It's like, you think of songs like Imminent Bailout, where it's just like a fucking onslaught, and this is the exact same way as that.
Yeah.
And so I'm so happy to hear this, even if it's one fucking song over a few year span that we get.
We got it. Yeah.
So what's your take?
It's definitely geared for Josh Todd. So there you go. That's really, you took the words out of my mouth. I mean, it reminds me of one of the faster, punkier Buck Cherry songs, not the ones that have more swagger.
Yeah.
So it was a great fit.
Next up, we had Reveal, that features, man, do you know how to say her name?
It just seems like Nima Maddox to me.
Nima. Okay, Nima Maddox. And I didn't know who that was. I looked it up. Did you look her up?
No.
She is what I thought was cool is she became known through YouTube. So she's like a YouTube star, apparently. And this is the only song on the album that, it's not that it doesn't fit, but it just doesn't flow with the other songs, in my opinion.
I see.
But it's still a good song. But to me, it almost sounds like, the way her voice is, it reminds me of like that 90s stuff, like Poe or Fiona Apple or something, which is fine because I liked a lot of stuff, but it just kind of took me off guard. And it's a good song. So it's cool that he's giving someone a shot.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah.
Catch you off guard.
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah. Then next up, we had Imaginary Days, which I believe is Mark Morton singing himself.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
And if that's the case, man, why didn't he just sing the whole damn album? Because he's got a great voice.
Well, I'll tell you.
I know I didn't, because it's going to sell more albums, because it's got Chester Bennington on it.
But, exactly.
But, you hear that, and don't you think, this guy could go on tour just singing himself? Right?
Yeah, he could.
Yeah, so I was surprised. You're always kind of surprised when you hear someone like, we heard the same thing from Mark Tremonti whenever he started singing, outside of just backups, and you realize, man, this guy's great. You don't expect it from a guy that you've known forever and never, heard that side of him. So I'm really glad to hear that's there.
Exactly.
And then the final track is The Truth Is Dead, which features Alyssa from Arch Enemy and Randy from Lamb of God.
And that's just more straight up ball squashing metal.
Yeah.
Which is what we love.
Yeah, this song, it had, in my opinion, as a music dork, it had to have Alyssa on it, because if it didn't, it would have just been a Lamb of God song.
I get that, yeah.
It's like there wouldn't have been a point of putting it on a solo album.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you could have just saved it for the next album, and putting her on it gave it a totally different spin, even though you have Randy's voice and Mark's guitar together, which is what you know and love. Putting her voice in it gives it a totally different spin, and it doesn't really feel like Lamb of God, even though you're hearing Randy sing.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool. He put that as the last track too, since it had Randy on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I get that. That was a good move. I agree.
Yeah. So all in all, I believe we're in agreement that this is, at this point, could end up being a top 5 or 10 album of the year, probably, right?
We got us a good record on our hands.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark Morton, Anesthetic. If you have not checked it out and you're watching this to find out if you should, obviously the answer is you should. So there you go. If you are checking us out for the first time, right below here, click that subscribe button so you can see more videos. And also right below there where Jason's pointing, you can click the link to subscribe to our podcast on iTunes and or SoundCloud. You can also find us and all our socials at thethunderunderground.com. Our podcast now has 214 episodes, and we've had on guys from Megadeth, which, one of Mark's band members was in Megadeth for a short period.
I heard of them.
Yeah, we've had on 2 members of that band. We've had on members of Kiss, Seven Dust, Tesla, Shinedown, and a whole lot more. So go check those out, and we'll see you soon.